Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Today I'm going to be going over 5 tips I wish I would have known as a beginner before buying my first home studio. So let's get straight into it. So the very first tip I wanted to go over with you all is making sure you buy a desktop computer and not a laptop. Main reason why I say that is because desktops have higher CPU capacity than laptops do. If you don't know what CPU is, Central Processing Unit, it's essentially the brain of your computer. Your CPU is the part of your computer that allows you to execute commands. Now, if you're eventually going to be learning how to mix and master your own music, CPU will be a big problem for you in the future if you invest in a laptop and not a desktop. This is because while mixing and mastering, you're going to be using a lot of different VSTs in order to make your song sound the way you want it to sound. Unfortunately, once we use all these different VSTs and plugins in our mixes, it's going to take up a lot of CPU. After a certain point of using so much CPU, we're going to go through this thing called CPU overload. Once that happens, you won't be able to listen to your song without a bunch of clicks and crackles. And the only way to avoid it is by addressing that CPU problem, which can be quite tiresome. So I say right now, in order to avoid all that in the future, make sure you invest in a nice desktop computer. Second tip I wanted to go over with you all is making sure you buy a good audio interface. So your audio interface is a piece of hardware that allows you to connect your microphone to your computer. The reason why buying a good audio interface is so important is because this is what's going to control how clear your vocals are going to sound whenever you're mixing your song. Now, when mixing and mastering your song, you want to make sure you're getting the highest quality possible. The reason that is because when mixing, seemingly minuscule problems with your vocals can actually turn out to be quite drastic once you finish. Now, your audio interface does not affect the actual quality of your song, but it will affect the quality of your song while you're mixing with it. Now, you may be thinking, if using an audio interface doesn't affect the ultimate quality of my song, just what I'm hearing while playing it back, why should it even matter what type of audio interface that I get? Well, you remember those minuscule sound problems I was telling you about earlier? Well, that can be easily mistaken for an error in the mix or master. And this could cost you hours of time and frustration trying to figure out what's wrong, only to never end up getting the problem solved. So make sure you invest in a good audio interface. There's a plethora of good ones out there on the market. Just figure out which one works best for you. The third tip I wanted to go over with you all is using a good microphone. Now, when I was first gathering all the equipment for my own home studio, everyone told me the same thing. They tell you the quality of the microphone doesn't matter, only the quality of the mix and master engineer's abilities. But that same concept doesn't apply for a beginner wanting to learn how to mix and master their music in the future. To put it simply, the better your microphone is, the less problems you'll have to endure when mixing and mastering, which really means the better the microphone, the easier it's going to be in order to get your mix and master sounding good. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you need to go out and spend $1,000 on a microphone. There's plenty of good microphones that you can buy under $1,000. Usually the cheaper microphones sound the worst. And I'm also not saying you can't get your mixes to sound good with mics under $100. I mean, for instance, the other day I heard one of the craziest mix and masters from a person that recorded over a gel phone. But at the end of the day, it really just depends on the mix and master's engineer's ability. I say when buying a microphone, the 200 to about 500 range is a good area to start from. You're gonna find some really good microphones in that range. Fourth thing I wanted to go over with you all is buying a good pair of studio monitors and headphones. Now, when it comes to buying studio monitors, you don't really need to buy extravagant ones. You can find pretty decent studio monitors for $100. Your studio headphones and studio monitors are going to be about the same price. But the reason I want you to invest into both is because you're going to want different outlets to listen to your song after you finish mixing and mastering. In many cases, when trying to get a good mix and master out of your song, different sound devices will make your song sound a little bit different. You want to make sure your song sounds good on every single sound device, because your song may sound really good in the car, but once a person listens to it on their phone or they put in their headphones and listen to your song, it may not be the same case. Now, using studio monitors and headphones is the best way to mix and master your song. Now, last tip I wanted to go over with you all about buying your own home studio is making sure you invest into an appropriate digital audio workstation for your situation. Different digital audio workstations are good for different aspects of the music making process. Some digital audio workstations are good for producing music, like making beats, and some digital audio workstations are good for mixing and mastering vocals. I personally bought FL Studio because the layout is really simple. Everything is pretty easy to understand and get a hold on to. And I was only able to come to that conclusion because I had friends that used FL Studio, and they showed me how easy it was to mix and master their songs inside FL Studio. But anyways, the best way to figure out which digital audio workstation works best for you is by looking for the different stock VSTs inside those digital audio workstations. The type and quality of their stock VSTs or plugins is what should tell you which digital audio workstation will work best for you. For instance, in FL Studio, there's a bunch of different stock VSTs that work really well with vocals. But if you only have the money to choose between one of them, get the studio monitors. Like Fruity Parametric EQ, Soundgoodizer, Maximus, Fruity Reverb, Fruity Delay, Fruity Limiter, Fruity Chorus. There's so many different types of VSTs that work really nice with vocals. But just make sure you find a nice digital audio workstation that aligns with the goals that you have in mind for making music. But alright everyone, those are the 5 important tips I wish I would have known before buying my first home studio. Now if you're a beginner and you're interested in learning how to mix your vocals with stock VSTs, hit the video in my description so I can give you a detailed step-by-step guide over every single component of the process. Here I'm going to save you so much time from scattering across YouTube for the information only to still be left confused in the end. After watching this video, I can guarantee you will be a whole lot better of a mix engineer than you were before. So make sure you hit the video in my description. But alright everyone, I hope you got a lot of value out of this video. If you did, make sure to hit like, also hit subscribe. I'll catch you all in the next one.